And we are here, first versus second, Chelsea versus Arsenal. It's been quite a while since we actually found a strong game in which Chelsea and Arsenal are actually going up against that actually counts for something. So what do we actually expect in this game? So Chelsea and Arsenal is a rivalry that has been actually been crowned with two of the best teams in London. And for the first time, we actually see a Premier League title that can actually be two London teams going toe to toe from the Premier League title. And that is something that has not happened recently. Now, so far, we are getting two managers in in Mikel Arteta and Enzo Maresca looking to actually go band for band, and Chelsea being at home have the advantage of actually playing at home. But Maresca had something interesting to say in his press conference. Maresca in his press conference explained and actually talked about Cole Palmer, who's probably Chelsea's best attacker. Now, Cole Palmer is available, and Cole Palmer is not just available. Cole Palmer is available to start. And if there is one player who relishes the challenge of actually playing in big games, it's Cole Palmer. We saw it in the Club World Cup final, in the Conference League final, in the Euro final for England. He's that player. He's that big game player. When you have that big game, then you automatically know that that player who's going to step up and take the game by himself is none other than Cole Palmer. So this by itself is a huge addition for Chelsea when it comes to actually facing Mikel Arteta's Arsenal. Maresca also went ahead and said about the title hope, saying that he is focused on the game, and that is a talk that they can only talk about in February and in March when Chelsea is in this kind of position. So before we start, do not forget to like, share and subscribe if you are new in this channel, and let us engage in the first and the second part actually of this series. So both Chelsea and Arsenal had statement wins in midweek. Chelsea managed to impose themselves on Barcelona, and because of the offside trap, Chelsea should have actually thrashed Barcelona as many as 6 goals. Arsenal, on the other hand, beat probably the most dominant European team. So when it comes to the lineup, Robert Sanchez maintains his position as Chelsea's number one. And in this game, Sanchez needs to be very clear. He needs to go long a lot, and he needs to be very tidy with his passing, because Arsenal are a different gravy. In the backline, Chelsea, I expect Maresca to retain the same backline that he started with against Barcelona. I don't want changes in the center backs. I think both Fofana and Chalobah play quite well. Both of them are super aggressive. Both of them are very good in 1v1 defending. And the fullbacks, I expect Malogusto and Cucurella to play. Cucurella in particular to handle Bukayo Saka and Eze, who will be trying to tear up that left-hand side. I do not want to make a case for Benoit in this game. No, I want to see Fofana actually starting. In midfield, I'm going to go with a midfield double pivot of Reece James and Caicedo. Yes, again, Reece James and Caicedo. I know that a lot of people might want Chelsea to be much more dynamic, but in my opinion, we have really faced top teams when we had Reece James in that midfield, adding that physicality next to Caicedo. In attack, this is where I make the changes. I'm going to actually start Pedro Neto down the left. I'm going to play Enzo Fernandez at that number 10 position, and I'm going to bring in Palmer in that right wing position. I know a lot of people might talk about Estevao and how I'm supposed to start Estevao, but no. I want Cole Palmer in this big game. Leading the line, I'm going to pick João Pedro. What do you notice from my lineup? I've picked the exact lineup that Chelsea played with against PSG, and I think that lineup is so strong to actually have the both balance of defense and attack, because we need also to be strong defensively, and that is why I'm picking that. So why am I choosing to pick Palmer? Because I've seen Palmer to be much more, it's better than Estevao, but Estevao is so good, but I think Palmer also adds a bit of physicality. Now Arsenal will press Chelsea high, and Arsenal are excellent pressers. They know how to press. And the way they press is also quite unique. They alternate between zonal marking and man marking. So if you have not watched that video, go to my channel and you're going to see when I explain about zonal marking and man marking. Now, in that zonal marking system, you find Merino pressing, especially Chelsea, and forcing them to play to the left. Why? Because Chalobah is right-footed, playing down the left. Then once the ball is forced to Chalobah, Saka will now press Chalobah from out to in, covering the pass from Cucurella. And what will that mean? Chalobah will have to play the pass in field to Fernandes, who might try to come and receive the ball. And that is where Arsenal's midfield comes to life, with Subamendi winning this ball here. And once he wins this ball here, he immediately looks to play the ball back to Saka or Eze, and that is how Arsenal actually create those transition phases where they actually score. So you can see the way Arsenal press is a very intelligent way of pressing. It's not the obvious press that Chelsea are going to face. And you can even see it here. Bayern Munich are trying to play out, and look at how Arsenal are. They are mixing both zonal and man-marking pressing systems so that they are able to get the best out of Arsenal. Now, once they have done this, what you notice next is the way Arsenal are actually going to try and stop Chelsea from building up. So how can Chelsea do this? One, Maresca might ask his fullbacks to start high and wide so that they can drag Saka and Nori Madueke into that, they can drag them away from the center back. This now might allow players like Trevor Chalobah to receive the ball. And once Chalobah receives the ball in this position, then the player who will have to step out to press Chalobah, do you think it's going to be Saka? No. If none of them chooses to, all of them choose to retain their position, then Chalobah can look to play the ball over the top for the runs of Pedro Neto, who will start from that left position. Number two, they can ask their two pivots to drop deeper so that when the ball is played to Chalobah and Saka engages into that press from out to in, then what you notice is that now Caicedo can be in a position where he can receive the ball as the second ball. And if Zubamendi can come to press Caicedo, Caicedo can use his strength to shield the ball and look to play the ball to Fernandes in between the lines or Cucurella in the wide area, because that will always be an avenue. And once Enzo receives this ball, he can look to switch the ball to Palma. So you can see here, the same way Barcelona were looking to press, Yamal has come in, and look, Sanchez is so clever that he is actually being pointed to by Chalobah to play the ball directly to Caicedo. Caicedo receives the ball. Once Caicedo receives this ball, what do you notice? He looks to play the ball onto Esteva and to Fernandes in that space. Now, once Fernandes receives this ball in this position, then he has the opportunity to pick where to pick, either to play down the left or to play down the right, where it is favorable for Chelsea to actually look to progress with the ball. So it is super important to understand that the positioning of Chelsea's players and midfield will be super crucial in the manner in which Chelsea actually want to build up. The second way that Chelsea can look to do this is that because Eze will be looking to stop the ball from going to Caicedo, then Palma can move from his right wing position, drop so deep and receive the ball. Where did we see this? We saw this against PSG. Palma vacating the right wing position, coming into midfield to receive the ball. Now, this will create a lot of problems for Calafiori. Does he leave that space open and follow Palma so deep that if Palma actually gets that ball, Palma is able to play the ball to Gusto, who will be looking to make that overlapping run? And that is the same thing that Chelsea actually looked to do against PSG. That is looking to drag the fullbacks out of position. Then João Pedro can look to actually drag Saliba out of position, creating space for Palma to make that run in behind and actually slot it into that far post area. So those are two ways, either using Palma to drop so deep or looking to manipulate that midfield overload or looking to utilize the high and wide fullbacks. Now, in settled possession, this is where Arsenal thrive. Arsenal are very rigid in that 4-4-2 block, and it makes them so strong. Now, because of that, Chelsea can look to utilize their wide centre backs in this case, either using Cucurella and asking Cucurella to push and advance forward, where he can look to link up with Neto and Enzo Fernandez to create that triangle in that wide area, where he's going to attract pressure from Saka, and then he can play the ball to Neto, once the ball is played to Neto, because Enzo can be covered, then Cucurella should look to continue to make that advancing run, because Caicedo will shift to try and cover for him. Then he can look to receive that pass from Neto and then look to actually have a cutback in the final third. So that is one area, playing the quick 1-2s while continuing to make that forward run, which is something that I've seen Cucurella doing with a lot of success in with Chelsea. That is something that Cucurella has actually done with Chelsea. Now, this might actually make Arsenal to move even much more narrower. So the wide areas will be areas where they can exploit. Down the right, Fofana can be so integral in carrying the ball forward, and looking to actually play the ball either to Gusto or to Palmer. Sometimes Palmer can move wide and allow Gusto to come and field so that Gusto can make those underlapping runs. Or Gusto can move wide and look to play Palmer into that half space, where Palmer can either look to play the ball in space for the runs of João Pedro or actually attempt a shot from those positions, where we actually know that Palmer is super capable in actually doing that. So those are two ways. I've talked about Chelsea when they look to press, and I've talked about Chelsea when they are in settled possession. And that actually winds up my second part of this series. So I've talked about Chelsea in possession and Chelsea out of possession. Now, what will Arsenal do in possession? And what makes Arsenal so dangerous in possession? And what can Chelsea actually look to do to stop that from Arsenal? So if you want to watch that, wait for the third and the final part of this analysis as I actually talk about what makes Arsenal